Just like flour is the principal raw material for the making of cakes, so is wisdom the principal raw material for the making of kings. And kings here means leaders, the making of leaders. You never have a piece of cake without flour. There is no way sugar and icing can make a cake. They are to decorate the cake. The real cake is what? Made of flour. In the same vein, you never find any leader in any field who is not made up of wisdom stuff. Say with me, wisdom. And now, I'd like you to please listen here, because this will help us a lot. Wisdom stuff. Now, what is wisdom? And let's pick it from the mouth of wisdom himself, Jesus Christ, who is the wisdom and the power of God. The whole world was ajar by his wisdom. What wisdom is it that's given him? That both the wind and the storm obey his voice, and such mighty works are done by his hand. Matthew 13:54, Mark 6:2. So that qualifies him to be the wisdom of God in human flesh. What is Jesus' definition of wisdom? Matthew 7:24-28. He said, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which is built his house upon the rock. I will liken him unto a wise man. Who is a wise man? The one that hears and applies what he hears. Now, what therefore is wisdom? Wisdom is not just the ability to think. No. Otherwise, every thinker will be wise. But not all thinkers are wise. What therefore is wisdom? Wisdom is not the engagement of common sense. Wisdom is the engagement of acquired sense. Come and say acquired sense. Whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man who has built his house upon the rock. And then came the wind and the storm, and they beat vehemently against that house, and it could not fall because it was founded upon the rock. What therefore is wisdom? Wisdom can be defined therefore as the acquisition and intelligible application of knowledge. Wisdom is what? The acquisition and the intelligible application of knowledge. Wisdom is not the ability to think. Wisdom is the ability to acquire and intelligibly engage the acquired knowledge. So we ponder over the acquired knowledge to squeeze out what applies to what we are doing. That's wisdom. Wisdom is thinking through the knowledge acquired in order to discover how it applies to what you are doing. Ooh. I wish you know how costly wisdom is. Oh. Wisdom is the most costly virtue of all virtues in the kingdom. You want me to show you how costly it is? Let's read from Job 28. And then you see the rating of wisdom in terms of its cost. In terms of its cost. Now, talking about wisdom, he said, but where shall wisdom be found? Verse 12. Job 28 verse 12. And where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof. Hello. So it carries a price. Neither is it found in the land of the living as a treasure. You know, you can dig out gold, you can dig out diamond, but you can't dig out wisdom from the earth. He binded the flood. Now he went on and said, the deep said it is not with me, the sea said it is not with me. It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, and the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal shall not equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for pure gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. I'll stop there, verse 18. It's a most costly virtue because its treasure is most valuable. That's why it should not be mistaken for common sense. It's a quiet sense. It's a most costly virtue. That's why people pass by without being able to buy. Now, maybe this example may help you. I had a call to ministry with a background in architecture. I would be stupid to go into ministry with an architecture mind. I'll be punctured. They are worlds apart. They don't have any bearing together. So if I'm called to ministry and I don't want to mess up, then I must go for what I consider will help me to measure up. So I selected 39 biographies of great ministries to study. How many? 39. It's no yoke. I mean, 39 selected biographies of great ministries that I could lay my hands on. I went into them like someone researching for a PhD program. By the time I stepped into full-time ministry, I was 39 years older than my peers, because I've borrowed 39 different senses from 39 great minds to see where they made mistakes so I will not repeat it, where they made great marks so I could follow their steps. And so that enhanced the quality of my decision-making processes all through the work. We've never borrowed in our ministry for anything. Those great minds schooled me into management of ministry affairs. From their stories, I found their secrets. Hello. I never came into ministry with common sense. I came in with acquired sense and a commitment to apply them as they apply in the various stages of my assignment. So we don't talk of wisdom without talking of being studious. It is your studious engagement that empowers you to walk in wisdom. Because wisdom is not thinking of what you think is right, but what is proven to be right. Come on, say proven. You know, the quality of your academic paper is a function of the quality of your references, isn't it? Nobody will agree you are thinking except to tell us how others have thought in the same school. So the quality of your life is essentially a quality of your references. It's a function of the quality of your references. I've never sat with Billy Graham in my life. It will be my great privilege to have such opportunity, but I've never had it. But I know much more about this man than those who are working for him. At least I've read about 4 of his biographies. So I can tell his story, his wife's story, and everything what he saw in ministry, how he made up, how he came out of challenges, how he handled them. Wisdom is not a cheap commodity. Somebody hear what I'm talking about? Now, if ministry were only preaching, I'll be the most relaxed human being in the world. I'm relaxed, yes, but with plenty of responsibility. That's why I have come to conclude, by my opportune access to the secrets of many great lives, that every leader is a reader, and every committed reader is a potential leader. Every leader is a reader, because it's the engagement of the senses of others that makes him to make sense. That's why I've also propounded that every leader is a learner, and every committed learner is a potential leader. Abraham Lincoln said, I don't think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. Henry Ford said, when you stop learning, you are old, whether at 20 or at 80. And when you keep learning, you are young, whether at 80 or at 20. He said the best thing to do is to keep your mind young. And through the art of learning, or a commitment to a lifelong learning. I walked into the office of Kenneth Hagin in 1997. And then here he was, reading the book of T.L. Osborne. Reading. After writing all those books in his life, he was reading another author, 1997. He wasn't reading to post to us, because he was clearly our source of blessings and resources. But that was the book he was reading, 1997. 1997. Today you can find a lot of Christian books without references. There is no academic book of worth without cross references. If it doesn't have it, it doesn't hold water. So most of the things people find don't have, they are not proven. They are mere hypotheses. They are not proven. So it's a lot. Wisdom is not a cheap commodity. Always remind yourself of Job 28, 12 to 18. It's not a cheap commodity. It's the costliest treasure in all the world. Because it demands your time, it demands your energy, it demands your resources. I was away in America sometimes, and I bought books worth $9,600 at the time. And when I got home, my wife said, what did you bring? I said, come see. So I invited her to my library, and I opened the first box, books down. From the second one, books. I said, what else? I said, that's all else. And then I humorously said, you see, the content of these books can easily make me a manufacturer of the things I will have bought if I could understand them. Hello? That is sense of value. Your sense of value for knowledge is a great determinant of your leadership future. I'll never buy a piece of suit in my life, 9,000. What will I do with it? I mean, who is looking at me? I don't need that. But if I buy books of 20,000 pounds, I feel good. I've said across nations, and Pastor Alba was in 2 or 3 of those nations, that you are either building a library or you are building a mortuary without knowing. Come on now. You are either building a library or you are building a mortuary without knowing. There are many mortuary builders today. They do not. There are people who have graduated from college, have never read any single literature in their life since they left. They just go to work and come back from work and watch TV and go to work, come back from work, watch TV and go to work. Great leaders end up as peasant workers because they cannot pay the price of what makes a leader. Please note from here, wisdom is not a cheap commodity. It's the costliest commodity, but of greatest value. The costliest commodity and of greatest value. Let me share with you the story of two great people that have inspired me a lot. The one of them is Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin had only 2 years formal education. How many years? 2 years. Only 2 years formal education. And this young man was an apprentice in a printing shop. And so in those days, they used to give them money for food. This is your lunch money, go and eat. He would save the money for lunch today, lunch tomorrow, until it's enough to buy a book he has seen. So he would go fasting for knowledge. Fasting for what? So he was doing without lunch to buy books. Is that cheap? And suddenly, the lion in him began to rise. Today, Benjamin Franklin is a great name in American history. Benjamin Franklin founded the University of Pennsylvania, which is still rated number 15th university in the world as a 2008 rating. It was founded 1786. Benjamin Franklin developed himself to become a scientist. He founded the thunder arrestor science, engineering. He invented it. Thunder was killing people for free. He sat down and found a way of tapping that energy and earthing it. 2 years from education. You know how many years you have gone to school in your life? Now listen. Benjamin Franklin founded a daily newspaper, a tabloid. Benjamin Franklin became one of the foremost American diplomats. He single-handedly negotiated the French government support for the revolution. I hope I'm speaking well in London. That was what empowered the American forces to win. Today, there's a Benjamin Franklin Day in America. There are only 365 or 360 days in a year. They gave a day to one man who died about 300 years ago. That is the treasure of wisdom. It is not common sense, it's a costly sense. Come on, say costly. Wisdom is not common sense, it's costly sense. Very costly sense. Very costly sense. Benjamin Franklin read his way into greatness. He read his way into leadership. He wasn't waiting and wishing for it, he was working at it. How can someone with a 2-year formal education found a university that is still relevant today? From 1786. Oh, this is a very lazy generation. We just lay by and waiting for things to happen. We are killed by pleasure. Killed by pleasure. Think of Michael Faraday. How many have heard about Michael Faraday? Now I'm talking about these folks because they are believers. But they did not abuse the faith. Most of us are abusing the faith. I said, God, come and cook for me. Thank you, Jesus. Cook for me now. God, drive me to work. I don't feel like driving today. That's faith abuse. Michael Faraday was a lab. Now, let me tell you a story. He also had a 2-year formal education. I noted some of these things in my book, Winning Wisdom. Now, you see, Michael Faraday was also a printing apprentice. It was a booming business in their days, so people learned how to be a printer. So he was there. But every time scientists exhibited their experiment, in those days they were going about not watching film and videos and movies like today. It was a knowledge era. Come on, say knowledge era. Scientists will come in and exhibit the experiment. People pay to enter to watch. Michael Faraday was paying to enter. Small boy, what will he do with science? Now, there was this great physicist in his time. They call him Humphrey Davis. Humphrey Davis was a professor. And then Michael Faraday went to one of those exhibitions and took note. Now, for him to take note with only 2 years of education, he must have equipped himself. To even understand the professor, he must have equipped himself. I mean, understand what I'm saying? Now, Michael Faraday binded the notes and sent it to this professor, just to satisfy his printing and then all that, how much he enjoyed the lecture. So one time, a time came when the lab attendant of this professor left, and this man needed a lab attendant. Then he remembered a boy gave him a binded note of his lecture one time. He said this boy may be interested in being a lab attendant. So he rode on his horseback to trace the address, and he found Michael Faraday. Would you mind being my lab attendant? Oh, with all pleasure. So Michael Faraday was a lab attendant who grew to become a world-class physicist. Now listen to me. In his lifetime, Humphrey David began to be envious of the intellectual capacity of Michael Faraday. In fact, his biographer said he was reasoning more logically than Humphrey Davis. Well, to cut the long story short, you know the story if you're in the sciences, how great a name Michael Faraday made for himself in the field of science. Michael Faraday was not only a believer, he was also a preacher. But sold out to an undying quest for knowledge, and so earned his place in history. We don't talk of wisdom without knowledge. Now, let me say this. Wisdom is the principal raw material for the making of leaders, and knowledge is the principal raw material for the making of wisdom. So, leaders are made of applied knowledge. Come and say applied knowledge. Knowledge is not doing what you think. Knowledge is doing what you have discovered to be right. Doing what you have discovered to be right. And that's a lot of task. If anything can come out of Michael Faraday, there is something inside you. If anything can come out of Benjamin Franklin, there is something inside you. It's just to reorder your priorities. You see, students don't fail in school just because they are not intelligent. Most of the time they fail because they have wrong priorities. Say with me, wrong priorities. When he should be in the class, he's in town. When he should be in the library, he's in a party. So they dub him unintelligent. Not because he has no sound intellect, but he has a wrong priority, which has eroded his capacity to learn. So when you misplace your priority in your quest for leadership, you fail to become one. Knowledge is key. My library has remained my most valuable asset on this earth to me today. And where I'm sitting down here, if I need a book, I can tell them where to go check for it. Check for this here. Yes, shelf 4. Yes, line 2. Check here. You find around 8. Bring it for me. I have been building that since 1974. I was 20 years old when I started building my little. I didn't know it was library. I just knew it was the love for reading. Using money to buy things that when you see the price on them today, you wonder whether they stole it because of how little they were selling for that time. The first public lecture that was held at Covenant University, the professor asked for opportunity to visit my library. The text he used for that lecture, the main text he used, was from my library. I'm not in academics. Now you understand what I'm saying? It's so important for you not to buy books for decoration. You know, Encyclopedia Britannica. And then you sit and then take a biro. Then they take a picture. And yet there is nothing. He has never opened it. If you open the book, they are stiff. The books are stiff. They have never been opened since the day they were decorated. That's not it. If you truly have a quest for spiritual growth, then go for spiritual resources. You have a quest for breakthroughs in business, go for material that will help you actualize it. If you are not a committed reader, you never emerge a leader. You never emerge a leader. I pray that somebody here this morning has heard something. Oh yeah. Somebody here this morning has heard something. And all you need to do is to use it. I've told people time and again, I'm not surprised about where we are today. I would have been surprised if we are not there. Because the price, you can't be surprised if you go to a car garage to buy a car and you have the money. Can you be surprised that they sold to you? You can't be surprised. I cannot be surprised that we found ourselves where we are today. I would have been surprised if we are not there. Because I found what it would take you there, and I apply myself to those things, and so getting there must not be a surprise. Getting there must not be a surprise. Getting there must not be a surprise. Now, for instance, we are presently building a second university called Landmark University with agriculture as its main anchor, and for that reason I had to send a team plus myself to Israel to go and check on 19 agricultural and research settlements in Israel to buy into their knowledge with all the available documents and resource materials in building what is going to start next year, October. And then negotiating for consultancy with some of those research centers so we can have input from somewhere in building what we are doing. Anything you do with only common sense will end you in a common place. Now I'm going to be providing leadership for an agricultural development program, so I need to be educated so that nobody confuses me, right? So it's my job therefore to get some agricultural stuff from India, from here, from there, where they are making some present waves in it, and then try to find out what it is about. Say, but you're a pastor. Yes, but I have that assignment and I have to provide leadership for you, not by occupying a seat, but by having a sound understanding of how it works. I told them at Covenant University, I said in 10 years of its existence, it will emerge a world-acclaimed university. It's happening. 10 years. They're only 7 years now. And everybody's talking. Why? Because the requirements have been met, the results must follow. Hello. Is somebody still here? So you don't empower people by money. Gold, silver, diamond, rubies will never be a substitute for wisdom. The real treasure that guarantees a great future is wisdom, and it's acquired with the price of high level self-discipline. High level self-discipline. Somebody has asked me, how do you get time to read? How many want to ask that question here? Okay, good. Now, my answer is, how do you get time to eat? Because what eating is to you is what reading is to me. There's a bag that travels with me everywhere I go. It's a bag of books, the books of the hour, the one to check out on. Why on this trip? I read daily and I write daily. And I'm not writing for purpose of publishing books. I'm writing to draw lessons from what I read. There is nothing wrong with prayer, just that it's not a substitute for this. You can pray to acquire skill at a higher rate, but it will not be equal to skill. I'm happy that everybody is quiet, because these are very powerful vaccines. It's stronger than the one they use for swine flu. This is to cure live flu. As you take it, you'll be happy. You know, everything that works by knowledge. Everything that works. Everything. You know why you have a lot of divorces? People are so ignorant about marriage. There are many married people here who have never read any book in their life on marriage. I've never read one. Neither have they sat in any marriage seminar in their life. So husband and wife, the next something, goodbye, I'm not doing again. They don't know nothing about it. Before we got married, I read 8 books of marriage. How many? Man, I was balanced. And we have been in it now for how many years? I don't have any experience of what you do when they fight. We don't fight. I was smarter than that before I was married. But people have never read anything. There are people who are going to have children. They have never read anything on pregnancy, on how to give birth. So the slightest sign, God, he doesn't know nothing. He's never read nothing. There are people who have never read anything on child raising. They're just producing children. They are just producing. They have never read nothing. You see, you can never be a leader in anything you are not willing to learn. Hello. You cannot be a leader in anything you are not willing to learn. In fact, it's your commitment to learning that brings out the leader in you in that field. In our church back home, we recommend books for you to read. You must read them. And then you do seminar before you are married. So we can be free from all the crises. So you can ask questions and they give you the answers and they tell you what to do. Well, just normal. You don't come tomorrow and say, okay, I'm not satisfied. You must be satisfied. You must be satisfied. How many understand what leadership is now? Amen. And how many are willing to pay the price? Can you imagine if we can have in this place 1,000 leaders in their various fields? What that would mean to United Kingdom? What that will mean to the nations where you have come from? It will mean heaven on earth. Imagine that we now have 2,000 who are willing to buy this treasure and secure their future. It's a way it works everywhere. You can't therefore wish leadership. You work at leadership. You can't wish it. You can't wish it. You work at it. In the second segment, I'll be speaking on the ultimate prize of leadership. Thank you, Jesus. Someone excited this morning? Wave your right hand to God and just thank him for anything you may have learned while you are here. Let's stand to our feet. Thank him for anything you may have learned in the course of this first segment. And receive grace to appropriate this into your lives, in developing your business, developing yourself in your career, and in making the most of your most valuable destiny, your ministry, your organization, everything about you. Thank you, Lord. Lord, I pray that that man and that woman that will add color to the lives of many by virtue of his positive response to the demands of leadership will rise from this place this morning.